Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie, and we're with the Arts and Culture Alliance. Hello, everyone.
Hello, we're back again. We had a little hiatus last week, but
we did.
We've been very busy.
We have been very busy. It's been a busy summer.
It has.
It has.
It's been a lot trying to get ready for the ending of the Riverstone concert series and the studio tour.
And then enjoying a little bit of our summer, like trying to visit family, which I just did. I went to Portland. Hey, let me give everyone a little notice.
Okay.
If you want to see Multnomah Falls, you have to make a reservation.
Which I think is amazing because you've always been able to just stop there.
Well, that's what we thought too. So we were driving there to Portland to go see my mother-in-law and family, and we're like, let's stop on the way back. Because every time we're like, I want to get on that bridge. I've never been on the bridge. I lived in Portland 9 years. Never been on the bridge. I've always gone to this, like the little shop and the little area right before you go on to the last time I tried to go on the bridge, it was during the fires of when they had the fires around the bridge.
Right.
Anyway, and we couldn't go on the trails.
Right.
So couldn't go then. So this time I said, on our way back, we'll leave early, make sure we can go on the trail so we can walk up to the bridge and get my son, I'm calling him my son-in-law. He will be.
Yeah.
Maddie's boyfriend, Clay. If you're listening. Yeah. So I brought them and I thought, okay, great. We're going to get this picture with the beautiful waterfall behind them. And we get there and you have the QR code. You get out, there's a whole bunch of people waiting there, and I'm like, what is going on? And people are mad. They're like, we can't get in. And I'm like, what? She says, oh yeah, you have to have a reservation. I'm like, what? So you go to the QR code. It was 10:30 in the morning, and there was a spot for 4 people at 12:30. I'm like, well, we're not waiting around. We got to get home. So we took a picture, and the picture is of Maddie and Clay, and a little hint of
I saw it. It's like a little drip, behind them.
So anyway, that's my little note for everyone traveling.
Right.
Make sure you get your reservation at probably any park this year.
Why do you think they did that?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just Oregon because they're very tight on the COVID, or they don't have a lot of park people working. Everybody's looking for work.
So it's COVID or staffing
or
issues.
There's just too many people. Like in Yellowstone, they can't keep up. There's so many people coming because everybody wants to go to the parks. So same thing happened to another friend who went to Yellowstone, couldn't get in.
Wow.
I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Anyway, so another trip foiled.
Yep. So if you're going to somewhere, just make sure you don't need reservations before you go, so you're not unexpectedly surprised.
But another place you don't need reservations is the coast. We did go to the coast, and I did put my feet in the water.
You mean the ocean doesn't require you to?
No, you don't need
They don't have QR codes?
No, they don't. You can just go. We went to Cannon Beach and Seaside, and it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous day.
Fun.
It was kind of overcast. The drive through Portland was okay. There's a lot of traffic there.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't too bad. And what the funniest thing, and then I'll move on from me, I promise, is that the kids were like, oh my God, I can't wait to get back to like Coeur d'Alene and Spokane. The traffic's hardly anything. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's pretty bad here.
I know.
But the ocean was beautiful, and it was a beautiful day. And I had the best clam chowder. So
nice.
I'm happy. It was a great trip. How about you?
Well, I also had a fun trip.
Yes.
I went to Canada with my husband, Kevin.
Yes.
And we went to Fernie, BC, which is just to the east of Cranbrook. And every year they have this, they call it the Wapiti music festival. And the John Welch band was playing there.
They're awesome.
And they're so good. And it's like as soon as I saw John Welch post that on Facebook, I bought the tickets, and then I booked us in an Airbnb, and we took our bikes, and we were really close to the park where they had the music festival. And we took our bikes the first day, which was awesome because we didn't have to worry about finding a parking spot. And on the way back, we're hiking up. I mean, it was all downhill there to the park, but it was all uphill back.
Uh-oh.
And then right at the top of the hill, just before we got to our Airbnb, Kevin's bearings went out on his bike. So the next day, we had to walk.
Oh.
But it was only a 20-minute walk.
Oh, that's not bad.
Walking downhill was great. Walking uphill was not.
Oh.
But it was really fun to see John and his band play, and we got to drink beers with them afterwards.
Fun.
And
Hopefully
then,
we can have them back.
Yeah, and here is an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling me that, and I knew that this was a thing, that they can't come here and play without a visa. Mm-hmm. And their visas are the equivalent of $1,800 US dollars.
Wow.
I don't know what that equates to in Canadian dollars, but it's like $2,200. That's a lot. And a band has to, route themselves to several gigs in order to make
it worthwhile. Wow.
U.S. bands, when they go to Canada, all they have to have is a letter.
Wow.
That seems very inequitable to me.
It does.
So I told him I'm going to do my best to fix that situation.
We're on it.
I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, at least for the Northwest.
Interesting.
I know, that just makes me really, really mad because they're really good and we'd like to have them here.
Yeah, they're very good. Huh.
But anyway, after we left Fernie, which is a cute little town, by the way, cute little art town, we drove up through Radium Hot Springs, which I'd never been to, and we went over Rogers Pass. Mm-hmm. Rogers Pass is gorgeous.
Ooh, yeah.
It is like all the mountains that you see there make ours look like hills. Mm-hmm. And when we were driving through the pass, you could not see the top of the mountains out the side of your car. You had to look through the sunroof to see the top. And here, I feel like when you go over a pass here, you may see 1 or 2 or 3 mountains. There were mountain after mountain after mountain after mountain. I mean, it never ended. Even when we got to Revelstoke, we were still in the mountains.
It's like the Canadian Rockies.
Yeah. Anyway, it was beautiful.
Good.
And it was Kevin's first time up there. And he was blown away. I keep telling him how beautiful it is because Revelstoke is right on the Columbia River. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he believed me until he saw it.
So, book your trips.
Yeah.
Do
it was fun. Anyway,
here we have some local artists.
Yep, we're pretty excited to have as our guest today Kevin and Patti Jester. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're excited because we have like a number of things to talk about with them. First of all, Patti is like the most amazing gardener ever. Her garden is her art. And Kevin is a architect in town, and that's his art. But they also have their own art, and they're also in the studio tour.
That's
right.
Welcome.
Thanks for being here. Yeah. So let's start with you, Kevin, and let's talk about. I just want to talk about architecture because I feel like architecture is what got you here in the first place.
That's correct.
So let's talk about that and what you had to do to get here. And
well, I guess it was kind of serendipitous. A college classmate of mine and a lifelong friend had moved here in 1977, and he and I went to school at Washington State University together. And we had been out of school a couple, 3-4 years, and he moved here, and he knew my interest in the outdoors, as well as my interest in architecture and construction. And after he lived here for a month or two, he gave me a call and said, Kevin, you might want to come over here and take a look. And so Patti and I were in the very early stages of our courtship. And I asked her, I said, what do you think? I'll go over and take a look. And she said, yeah. So I came over and came to Coeur d'Alene for the first time. And it was in the wintertime, and the snow was falling, and the eagles were flying, and the mountains were gorgeous, and I just went, well, I think I need to be here. And so I went back home and told Patti, and eventually she and her mom drove over here to give it a look and see if this was something that was acceptable, and then she told me that she found a place to rent, so that was kind of a confirmation. We would come over. So we moved over in 1978, March of 1978. We got married in February of the same year, and a month later we moved to Coeur d'Alene. And I think we had like $700 to our name, and hoped we could make it. And so I went to work for a startup firm called Architects West, which now has been in business in Coeur d'Alene for, I think, in a couple of years. They'll celebrate 50 years in business.
Wow.
In Coeur d'Alene. It was started in 1974. And so I came during a time when it was busy, and was able to come in on kind of the ground floor of that.
Right.
And I was young and learning the craft and the trade of architecture and the business of architecture. And Coeur d'Alene was not really discovered yet. And so over the course of time of having practiced architecture for 40-some years in Coeur d'Alene, I've seen Coeur d'Alene grow up. Mm-hmm. I've seen it grow up in many different ways, not only in terms of facilities and infrastructure, but in terms of culture. Mm-hmm. I've seen it go from pretty simple to more sophisticated, and it's been fun to watch. Been fun to be a part of and see that happen, to see this community mature. Mm-hmm. And now I have concerns that it's going too fast.
Right.
That we may lose some of that character that is Coeur d'Alene.
Right.
And so don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I hope to be a part of some discussions and dialogue about maintaining that character that is Coeur d'Alene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, because we all want to maintain that character. Mm-hmm.
And your question about architecture, architecture is a pretty sophisticated career, and I've been in over my head for the past 45 years. A continuous learning process of how to work with people, how to work with materials, how to design in space, and not just two-dimensional, but three-dimensional. How to work with land forms as well as structural building forms. Mm-hmm. So it has been a passion of mine, and I have hope that my time here in Coeur d'Alene, that I haven't left too much debris behind me, and hopefully the work that I've been able to do and that the firm has been able to do is something that has made Coeur d'Alene a better place. So happy to answer any more specific questions that you might have with that regard.
Well, I know you've done some pretty amazing projects. Mm-hmm. What are your favorites?
Oh gosh, that's always a tough question, and people ask me that. I have had the good fortune to be involved in some civic projects that I think have served the community well. I had the opportunity to design the new library when they finally decided to bring that more downtown and adjacent to McEwen Park, and working with the people to come up with a design and a character that really spoke to who we are in Coeur d'Alene, and to meet the needs of people that come to the library, which is a changing, it's a dynamic sort of thing. From, when I was growing up, that's where the books were. Where now it's where books and computers and research, and for some people at the other end of the spectrum, it's a dry and warm place to come to in the wintertime.
Right.
So when you're designing a space like that, all of that kind of comes into into play, and trying to make it a space that people feel like they can call their own, and that they feel comfortable in. That was a challenge and very gratifying. I had the opportunity to work with some really good people. Another project that I again had the very good fortune to work on is the Ray and Joan Kroc Coeur Community Center that we did with the Salvation Army. And it was our firm in partnership with a firm out of Denver, Colorado that specialized nationally in community center design. But when they contacted us, they said, we don't want you just to rubber stamp what we're doing. We want you to make this something that says Coeur d'Alene. And we want to use local materials. We want to use local companies. And there's a much bigger story to this, but it involved the city of Coeur d'Alene first of all, getting the grant to do this was an amazing accomplishment for the grant writers. And then once they were awarded that, then the city got on board to find a site to put it, and then donated that site. And then the community had to raise $8 million of their own to show that they were behind the project, before the Salvation Army then released the funds to build the whole facility. So all of that took place, and it was a community effort. And so again, I feel so fortunate to have been involved in something that engaged, a larger part of the community.
Right.
And
and impacted so many people here.
It has been in place for 13 years and continues to carry a membership of close to 15,000, which nobody anticipated.
Right. Yeah. I know. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And again, it's a place that we wanted people to be able to come through the doors and feel like this was theirs, and that they felt comfortable there and not threatened. And so that was a big part of what was put together there. And I think that if you were to go and visit the Kroc Center and just watch for a few hours, you'll see the whole cross-section of the community come and go through those doors. Yeah. And that to me is very, very gratifying.
That's really cool.
Another project community project I had the good fortune to be involved with is Union Gospel Mission out of Spokane came over and wanted to do a women's and children's center here after they did their research, and said there is a need here, a big need here. And for whatever reason, they contacted our firm, and I happened to be the person that had the kind of background that was well suited to working with that group, and we were able to put together that Women's and Children's Center, which now has continued to expand, and they're looking for even further expansion as they meet the needs of so very difficult situations, and helping people to put lives back together again. So those projects have have a special place in my heart. And then I've gotten to do a lot of fun stuff. People have asked me, well, don't you have a desire to design and build your own house? Well, if you saw where I lived and what my wife Patti has done, you'd say, well, why would you want to leave there?
Yeah, right.
It's a little cottage with an absolutely wonderful garden and pond around it. But my response to people is, I've designed my dream house about 6 or 7 times. Other people just pay for it and live there.
That's the way to do it.
I love that.
That's great.
I've had very good clients who I've had good relationships with that have given me a lot of latitude to design their home for them. And that has always been something I've enjoyed doing. And continue to do, even though I'm mostly retired, I continue to do a residence or two each year. So,
didn't you also design the visitor center at the Cataldo Mission?
Yes, I did. That was another wonderful project to work with the Coeur d'Alene tribe and with their heritage and the artifacts that came in. And so we designed this facility that tried to reflect the culture of the Coeur d'Alene Indians. And if you were to look at the geometry of the building, you would see shapes and forms that reflect some of the shapes and forms of their early habitation in the area. And then the Interpretive Center was, the artifacts that they have been able to save over the, I can say now, centuries. And then it was put together by a group from back east that did the actual Interpretive Center within the facility that we designed. But it is, it's one of those things, as you're driving on I-90, you think, oh gosh, there's the old mission. But when you stop into it, you go, my gosh, this is a world-class facility.
Right. Well, isn't it Smithsonian quality?
It is Smithsonian quality. It absolutely is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Having grown up in Smithsonian country.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I really appreciate the fact that is... like a little extension of the Smithsonian. It's very cool.
So enough about me.
Yeah.
I know. Let's get to that garden.
Yeah.
So, Patti, your passion is gardening. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
And painting.
And painting, I know, but...
Painting came later.
Yeah.
Painting later, but let's talk gardening first.
Yeah.
So, where we live, we've lived there since 1979, and I planted the very first rhododendrons that spring, and so some of them now have been there for 43 years, and they're quite large. But I came by gardening from my mother, who is still an avid gardener in her 80s, and she was into unique plants and collecting different unique things. We have different styles, and I've been able to do mine, but it's not a big space. It's a city lot, 50 feet wide and about 110 feet deep, with a little house in the middle. But there are people here in town who have gardened many more years than I have, but mine is maybe a little unique in that I've been gardening in the same place for 43 years. So you have one person kind of putting out their expression in this one place and tending to it and tweaking it and guiding it and manipulating it. Where some who I know who have been gardeners much longer than I, though they've moved a couple of times, and they've left one garden and started a whole new one again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that your garden, anytime I'm invited to it, I never say no.
It's very peaceful.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, we're fortunate because of the location, having big established shade trees. So it's predominantly a shade garden, and it's kind of modeled off of an English cottage style garden where you don't see any dirt in the beds. It's all covered with plant material, and things kind of flounce over one another and billow out, or
Right.
And that's kind of the style, but then that kind of goes with the house as well. And then I took a passion of gardening and then turned it into my own business, where I've been a garden landscape designer, not an architect, but a designer, and did design build, where I would design what's called the softscape, which is all the plant material and how to use the space and all of that, and then joint venture with other landscapers that build all those things, and then I put in all the plant material. And
Right.
so I've done that for over 28 years, and now I'm trying to retire.
Hey ladies, have you heard about NIA yet? Hi, I'm Marilee Wallace. I'm a proud board member of the Coeur d'Alene Arts and Culture Alliance and owner of NIA, that's short for the North Idaho Alliance. We specialize in leadership development, specifically focused in connecting women to programs and workshops and the network to educate, empower, and enrich their lives. Our goal is to make positive impacts in our community while helping other women in North Idaho succeed. Next up is our Women of Impact Leadership Roundtable series and our Women with Cool Jobs event. Those are both kicking off in the fall, so I hope you'll look us up. You can find us on Facebook at Women of Impact CDA, or just give us a call at 208-660-1557. Go out and make it an impactful day.
So, Patti, obviously gardening is your art, but you and Kevin have both transitioned. That's a good word.
I know.
God, you're so smart.
Well, I don't say a lot, but every once in a while. Transitioned into art.
Transitioned into doing art. Why don't you talk a little bit about how that came about?
And what's your style and what's your favorite medium?
So a seed was planted for me when I was back in junior high school. And a young man who was a very talented watercolor painter, who was my age, just kind of wowed me with his artistic ability. And I always thought, wow, wouldn't that be neat to learn how to do that and to paint that way. And then life happens, and you have to do other things and earn livings and all of that good stuff, and raise children and et cetera, et cetera. And so you kind of put those things, just that desire, excuse me, on hold or put it aside. And then you come to a point, at least I did, where it was like, okay, well, I kind of see some time freeing up, and where I could devote it to learning a new craft, a new art form, which for me is watercolor. I've always had to have creative outlets, whether it's in cooking or working with decorating the home or flower arrangements even. I've always had to have a creative outlet.
Which I might mention that your cooking is fabulous. Also.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I had the good fortune to work with a wonderful caterer here in Coeur d'Alene for a number of years, and I learned a great deal from her. Anyway, so the opportunity kind of presented itself, and also with the internet and YouTube and all of that, to kind of start testing the waters and dabbling in, and that's kind of how I got started. And then I met Jessica Bryant here in town, who's a very talented artist in watercolor, and met her over at Art on the Green one year, and she had us sign up for classes, and so I got brave enough to put my name on the list. And before the pandemic, I took classes from her for 3 years and have learned a great deal from her. And we continue to talk art and composition. And as far as my own style, because Kevin and I enjoy the outdoors so much, I would say that, it's a lot about landscapes for us and the natural world, and recording places that we've been in our artwork and what we've seen. And as far as a style, though, I'm still working on that. That's still a process, and I don't feel like quite arrived there yet, but I'm still seeking it.
Well, and you may never arrive, because you're just constantly exploring, and that's the fun of it, isn't it? Just
doing it.
Yeah,
creating.
To keep exploring and trying something different, and then with it going off and trying something completely different again or something. And why not? Just play around with it and see what you discover.
Well, I think that what you've been doing with your watercolor is pretty impressive. Watercolor is a tough medium.
Not easy.
And you have been doing,
and
your pieces are amazing.
Jessica is a wonderful teacher.
Yeah.
She's really one of the finest watercolorists around. I mean, nationally.
Yes.
She's becoming nationally recognized.
Nationally recognized.
recognized.
I mean, we're so fortunate to have her living in our town, and then to take from her. I'd be intimidated just to take with her. I'd be like, no, I couldn't. But the fact that you have, study with her, and that how far you've come in just a short amount of time is just true test your own talent is
Right, for
is
sure.
amazing. So you can catch Patti at the studio,
tour.
You can also see her lovely garden
Yes.
because they are one of the studios.
That's right.
I don't know what number it is, but
I think it's 3.
number 3.
They're number 3 on the
So
studio.
you should check out the studio tour guide on the Arts and Culture page.
Right. The studio tour is this weekend.
Yes. Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 5 p.m.
Right.
And you can check out the Jester Studio. They're number 3. Now, we talked about Patti's art. So now maybe we should check in with Kevin's art. What kind of art do you do, Kevin? What can we see in your studio?
Well, at first you'll see a 80-year-old garage with all of my crap in it.
But it looks good. You've got so much good stuff in there.
But I turned that into a place where I can do some artwork. And as far as why art and why now, I think when Patti first met me, I was dabbling in different kinds of art, just playing with it, just because I had always had this vision that I wanted to do art. But then I got involved in a career in architecture, and it was all-consuming. No regrets. That was just the way it was.
Right.
But on my 60th birthday, Patti surprised me with a trip to a retreat in Montana, and it happened to be an artist weekend where they brought in 4 regionally, nationally recognized artists for a weekend.
Fun.
And
Way to go, Patti.
Good gift.
If you signed up for it, then what you would do is you would show up and you would meet the artists, and there was a painter, there was a sculptor, there was a pastel artist, and I can't remember who the other was, but very accomplished, very wonderful people, and just
A sculptor.
Yeah.
Did you say
Greg
sculptor?
Greg Kelsey, that was the sculptor. He's out of Durango, Colorado. And of course it was intimidating because these people were these were really fine artists. But the whole point of the weekend was you signed up and then you got to follow them for a day or two, and they talked about their craft and how they did it and why, and then you would you would work on a piece with them, and they would kind of coach you just to say, this is how we do what we do.
Right.
So that was a wonderful surprise, and it reawakened for me that desire to pursue. And I think Callie may have mentioned earlier, the one thing about doing art is it's scary. And in some ways, architecture's that way, because you put a lot of yourself into it, and then it goes public, and then you think, well, what if it's lousy?
Right.
What are people going to say? They're just being polite.
And so there's there's always, and I think most artists will tell you this. There's those days that you question, why am I doing this? For goodness sakes, people are just going to laugh at me. So you have to punch your way through that and say, I want to do it because there's something inside of me that wants to see. And then that eventually rolls into, how can I express myself? How can I share the joy of the world that I live in? And that's, I think, at least for some artists, that happens. That's what happened with me. And like Patti said earlier, we live in this wonderful place called North Idaho, an environment that has so many opportunities for expression. From the mountains to the Palouse to the wheat fields and the rolling hills out there, the old farm structures and silos and grain elevators. And there's just all this geometry and wonderful stuff happening out there. And it's kind of like, well, I want to do that. Well, I want to do that. And so, you start doing that, and then you hide it until you finally do something. You think, I might be able to show somebody that piece, And then eventually, I think you kind of get over it and say, no, you know what? We're all just out here trying. So,
right.
Just do it.
And I think the whole point a couple of years ago when you asked if we would be interested in being on the studio tour. I think, and Patti can certainly, validate this. We more wanted to give a venue for one of our friends and great artists, Kathy Gale, to show her work. And she said, "Can I show my work on your front porch?"
Right.
Yeah.
In your garden. And we said, "Yeah, that would be great." So we hosted Kathy, and I think we hosted Kathy for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe it was you, Allie, or somebody that kind of said, "Well, you ought to be in it.
That's
right. You guys should
Just
do
this.
this."
Yeah.
But we've had Stephen.
Yeah,
so-
Shortridge.
well,
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was getting to that.
Okay.
So we said, okay, we'll do that. And so that was a big adventure for us. That was a big step to do that. And then our dear friend, Steve Shortridge, talked to him about that, and he was interested. And he said, "Well, yeah, I might do the studio tour." And we said, "Well, how about you do it at our place?" And he goes, "Oh, that would be fun." So, here's this nationally known, romantic impressionist artist that says, "Yeah, I'll paint on your front porch."
Right.
It's like, okay.
Sounds
And
good.
so Steve, 2 years ago, Steve came and did that, and he had so much fun. He came back last year.
And he's coming back
And
this year.
He and I just painted in my little shop together, and then he's coming back this year as well.
Yeah.
So it
And
is
I feed you lunch.
yeah, and we get Patty's lunch, and we get to sit in the garden, and people seem to enjoy it. And I think the whole point of the studio tour, and Allie, you can certainly add to this. It wasn't necessarily, well, for some artists, it's to show the artwork, but for others, it was to say art can happen anywhere. And you don't have to be renowned to do art. You just kind of do it and see where it goes. And it can happen in a bedroom. It can happen in a closet. It can happen in an old garage.
Yep.
And Callie, I know your studio is, kind of evolved into different places.
It was a shed, and then it became a she shed.
Yeah.
Then I threw a chandelier in it, and now it's my beautiful studio.
And that's just how it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully that unlocks that spirit within other people that say, I've always wanted to do that. Why not? So I hope that's what happens on the studio tour. And for those artists that, make a living at it, I hope they sell art.
Right.
Exactly.
But for other people, it's just kind of, what I want to say, demystifying it a bit.
Right.
Saying, this is just about doing it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes something maybe bigger for like Patti and I. I think that we both want to create this sense of place that we find so special.
Right.
And it's our interpretation of what that is. And with Patti's florals, it's what she sees in the plants that she does and how they, every spring pop out and show their colors. And it's like, wow, did you see that? And then she can capture that now in her own form of expression, which is really a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And what's really fun to me is seeing the two of you because of what you do and what you've done. It's like it's all a reflection of who you are. And I love that. I've seen other artists who have a real disconnect between the person that they represent in the community and then what they do artistically. But your art, both of you together, it's all about the environment and the things that you love, and I just think that's amazing.
I think authenticity is very, very important to both Patti and I, that we do represent ourselves, that this is who we are. Right, wrong, indifferent, good, bad.
Right.
This is who we are. This is what we see. This is what gives us joy. I think that it's a great opportunity, to have found that freedom
Right.
to do that and not let the intimidating factors of, how is this going to be viewed,
Right.
stymie you from taking that next step.
Right.
And I do want to mention that you mostly work in pastels. Are you oils or pastels?
Thank you. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I do work in both mediums.
Yeah.
And I'm in the summertime, as it turns out, in the summertime I play around with oils more, and in the wintertime I work in pastels.
Because it's hot and they might dry a little faster.
Not only that, but some of because our little house is, it's a cottage, and if I oil paint the house, then the whole house smells like oil painting going on. Yeah, I know you do.
I'm like resin.
So for me, it's I can work out in my shop until it's about 40 degrees, and then it's
got to go inside.
Then it gets a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
And so then I come in.
Yeah.
But I can do pastels all year round. I just oils are still a learning curve for me, so I'm just kind of dabbling and trying new stuff and seeing where it goes.
Hey y'all, it's Jason from Tubbs Coffee Roasters. We are North Idaho's specialty coffee roaster. We are homegrown and we are local. We love coffee and we love our community, especially Allie and Callie and ArtCast. We have a retail space in our roastery in Hayden, and we can also be found on the shelves at Super One and Yokes. And if you like to buy coffee online, we do offer subscriptions. You can find us at tubbscoffeeroasters.com. Support arts and culture and your local roaster. That's all.
So we should talk about you were on the Arts and Culture Alliance board for many years, and you were a part of the Kids Draw Architecture. So tell us a little bit about that program.
Well, it was a fun program. I'm trying to think, Allie, who was it that started it? She was the instructor at NIC.
Len Maddie.
I just saw her the other day, and she mentioned that. I started with a class that she did at NIC, and then it went from being a class and looking at the architecture in Coeur d'Alene and what are the historical context of some of that into how about we introduce this to children, and then how about we have them draw, and then it turned into Kids Draw Architecture, which was a program that started in Santa Barbara, California, if I'm not mistaken, with a group of architects down there. So I got recruited, and not knowing any better, I said yes. And then for several years then, I was able to be a part of that program. And it's a wonderful program to introduce kids not only to, at first it was about architecture, but it's evolved from there to just about what do you see around you. And how would you draw it? How do you see it? And so that became just kind of mining these young minds and trying to break down the barriers of saying, yeah, go ahead and just sketch it.
Yeah.
There's no bad drawing. There's just drawing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it became. And then we've had the opportunity to go up to the Cataldo mission and do some work there and around town in Coeur d'Alene here. And then I think this year it's going to be in the city park, if I'm not mistaken. There's a number of wonderful structures and objects and things like that to do there. So I think it's a great program, and it's fun to see. I mean, you got the whole mix of kids from what am I doing here? And when are we done? To
and how cute is that girl over there?
Yeah. To the ones who kind of get into it and say, well, that was fun. And to have the parents come back afterwards and say, God, that was neat.
Great
to
day.
have our kids do something like that. So that's probably
it kind of reminds me of what you Patty treated you to on your 60th birthday, where you got to go and basically be mentored by these amazing artists. So we're giving kids in this community the opportunity to be mentored by experts in the field, which is a really cool opportunity, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And this year, I'll just say that one of the things that's kind of unique about this year that I heard is the firm that I used to be associated with has taken this on.
That you're still associated with. I'm sorry, that's a forever job.
We're never going to let you go.
I'm more retired than I've ever been. I'm still
Patty's laughing.
I'm still there. But they've taken it on as a firm project, which I'm really proud of them, and opening up the opportunity for architects, landscape architects,
That's great.
Technical drafting people to come out and take that role of being a mentor to share with kids. So we'll see how it goes. You know, they put it out there, and we'll see how it kind of evolves this year. And I told them, I mean, if they run out of people to fill spots, I'll be back up. But I'll kind of stay out of the way this year and let it become a next generation thing.
Right.
And that date is what day?
So that's Saturday, September 17th.
17th.
And you can sign up online at the Arts and Culture Alliance, CDA.org. It's
Ages.
The ages are 10 and up. And we will talk to you if you have a kid that's a little bit younger and maybe a little more mature. Basically, we're trying not to just do babysitting for the day, but actually work with kids that really want to...
That are really interested.
that really want to learn how to draw and learn how to see, and
it's a fun day.
that sort of thing. It's a fun day, for sure.
Fun.
So, artsandculturecda.org/kids-draw-architecture.
She's
And
got
you can
it.
sign your kids up. It is $10 for per kid, but each kid gets a backpack and a t-shirt and a sketchbook and lunch and snacks during the day and a pizza party at the end. So it's a pretty good deal for $10.
And then we're back to
The studio tour.
So let's not forget, we've got the bus tour is all sold out.
It is sold out. The shuttle.
The shuttle.
Yep. Where I'll be the happy guide.
The happy guide.
Giving the scoop on all the artists.
We get two. So next year, you have to get your tickets early because those tickets
we're gonna
go
have
fast.
two buses next year.
There you go.
2 buses a day next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That'll be great.
We have how many studios, Hallie?
We have 17 studios and 42 artists.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It does get bigger and
better.
bigger, and
the weather's going to be great.
Enthusiasm is good.
There's some very accomplished artists at the reception last Friday evening. Very accomplished and wonderful work.
It was. That was an impressive show.
Oh, and we should mention, if you go to the studios, every artist has their collector's edition piece.
That's right. It's 6 inches by 6 inches.
$95. So you could own your own Kevin Jester or Patti Jester.
That's right.
And
or any of the other participating artists.
Yes, and they're really cool pieces.
Yeah, we had them on display at the preview reception, and they're all very clever. They're all really cool.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to talk about the studio tour? I mean,
are you excited?
Just getting to your garden is a treat in and of itself, but also to see Patty's watercolors and your pastels and oils, and then Stephen Shortridge, who never disappoints.
Never. He's so fun to watch, and he always paints when he's at our place, and he will have multiple things all at kind of different stages that he works on through the weekend. He's very prolific with his work, and it's just fun to watch him.
That's fun. It'll be good. It'll be a good weekend. I think the weather's going to be great.
Wish I could go.
It's free. I know you can't because you're stuck in your
I'll
studio.
be in my studio. I'll be fixing that resin that messed up today.
I know Julie Clark is really excited to get out.
She gets to go this year.
She has been in the studio tour for several years, and she's moving, so she opted not to be in the studio tour this year and gets to go.
Yeah, she's so excited. Yeah,
that'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
Anyway, well, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
Yes.
for having us.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
Always
Well,
a joy
it was-
talking to both of you.
I know.
And we
Thank
love
you.
your garden, and you're always so nice to my family.
The only thing that would have made this better is if we could have done it in the garden.
That's true. In the garden with
I
the
know.
jesters. Next time.
Next time.
Next time.
Anyway, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. And whatever you do today, make sure it's creative.
The Allie and Callie Artcast is a program of the Coeur d'Alene Arts and Culture Alliance and is sponsored by NIA, North Idaho Alliance, a woman-based leadership organization designed to inspire, uplift, and impact your community and lives. And Tubbs Coffee Roasters, globally sourced, locally roasted coffee.